Today we take a look at the girl who got her powers from a book. Find out what's going on as I hereby invite everyone to join me on my adventures through Marvel Snap. Hey everybody, it's Annabelle. So we're continuing our journey through the extra cards that came out this month, and this time around we're talking about Jennifer Kale. Jennifer Kale was merely a curious teenager who found a magical book in the house where her grandfather lived. Her grandfather happened to be the leader of a cult and lived near the Nexus of All-Realities, which is a cross-dimensional gateway hidden in the swampy Everglades. This magical book contained all the knowledge of an ancient Atlantean sorceress who was exiled when her vision of the island sinking to the bottom of the ocean came true. And while playing around with the book, she actually found out that she could cast spells. Jennifer Kale spent many years in the Everglades and met Man-Thing, the guardian of the Nexus, who emerged and helped the young sorceress find her way. Through their subsequent adventures with Man-Thing, she continued studying magic, sometimes accidentally summoning demons or getting into situations where her spells got out of control, but Man-Thing was always there to save her. After many bad spells, she had taught herself proper magic. With help, she studied under Man-Thing and her grandfather and eventually mastered a great many spells. Jennifer Kale then tried to return to a normal life at one point and go to college. This, however, was cut short as when a construction company tried to drain the swamp surrounding her home, she started acting strange, and it turned out that she had managed to have a physical, psychic link to Man-Thing. She started suffering from not using her emerging psychic powers to help him, knowing that he might lose his home. So she did. She knew from that point on that she would never have a normal life, and she had no choice but to go off and study magic. Jennifer Kale is an intense and mysterious. She's driven by the need for transformation and finding deeper depth. She is progressive, open-minded, and forward-thinking. She is a master of execution and will instinctively take lead when her mix in the blend of intuition and sensitivity to what others can do in this situation. She is committed to responsibility, highly organized, and values structure above all else. She is ambitious, adaptable, driven to succeed, and often excels at her tasks. She always wants victory, and this leads her to stay in bad fights that she cannot win. Jennifer Kale is one of the most powerful and skilled practitioners of a magic dating back to the Sorcerer Supreme. This power is derived from three major sources: the soul, the body, and the mind. By activating these resources, she can tap into an extra form of energy and use this ambient magical energy to employ it for specific effects or powers, such as casting magical bolts, forming shields, opening dimensional portals, mesmerizing others, affecting others' memories, conjuring items, or casting a numerous amount of other spells that have a wide variety of effects. Jennifer Kale is a young woman who encountered the Man-Thing and became a powerful and skilled sorceress. With an extraordinary knowledge of magic, she can activate her resources to tap into an extra form of energy. This is represented in Marvel Snap as she can activate her power to give you an extra form of energy next turn. So Marvel Snap, what this card does, it is a 2-cost, 2-power, with the description of activate this card, which means it takes one turn after she's on the board when she's actually face up to use this ability, and when you do that, she'll give you 1 extra energy for the next turn after you trigger that activate. All in all, she's about a 2-star card. Let's go through some of the reasons why she falls into this 2-star rating. So first of all, we gotta look at the card that everybody is comparing her to, which is just Psylocke. Psylocke is the closest comparison to Jennifer Kale. They're both 2/2s. They both give you +1 energy. Psylocke is the on-reveal version. Jennifer Kale is the activate version of this. Sometimes it's just good to have a second Psylocke in your deck if you really need it, or to have a Psylocke in your deck that you don't have to throw down on turn 4 if you need to do something on turn 6 and waste part of your turn. So basically, anytime that you need a Psylocke, but you don't want it to activate on turn 2, you can play Psylocke in the form of Jennifer Kale and play it any other turn but 2. One of the things that you've got to be curious about and watch out about is just simply the fact that she can be taken down by some interesting thing. First of all, it's really hard to get her with some energy manipulation that runs out, especially right now, when you can run energy manipulation as simple as just X23 and have that destroyed when you're trying to get the extra energy near the end of the game. The other thing that you got to be cautious about is she is a 2-drop, and wasting your 2 slot on something that's just a 2/2 is kind of hard to do when you have worlds where Captain Falcon exists, and you can get a 2/2 with a shield that exists. To a certain degree, it is taking up your 2 slot, and you almost have to play her on 2. It's kind of like how you have to play Domino on 2. And that's kind of what you have to be interested about and curious about, because playing her exactly on 2 is the best slot for her. But you don't always have to play her on 2. It's just knowing the fact that any turn after 2, she's losing a little bit of her uniqueness, because you're trying to waste 2, which isn't always the best drop for you with playing her down. And playing her even on 3/4, while it still help you out, isn't great, because you want her to come down on 2 for the fact that she's not that great. Also, you got to watch out with the fact that she does take up a board slot. It's kind of always interesting to know that you're going to take out a board slot with the on reveal, and she can also be blocked by other things that might be not to your advantage if something happens on that turn where you want to activate her and you can't really play the card because of what your opponent's doing. Another thing you always have to be curious about is the fact of how activate works. You have to know that you need a turn. Because you need a turn, it works the same way as Black Widow with the Widow Spike, which means that you can't play her on the 6. But you really can't even play Psylocke on the 6, because getting the extra energy on Psylocke on 6 isn't that great. Now when you play her, you're moving up from the 4-drop, which you usually want, which you're trying to get with the Zabu and stuff like that. But if you play her exactly on 2, the next turn you're going to get is the 5-drop. One of the best things for her is going to be the Sarah with that, so you can get the easy onto the ongoing with that. Other thing that you have to be curious about is just the wave. You have to basically have a deck where you want something that comes out on 5 or 6, and you're willing to play a Jennifer instead of just playing the wave. While this is better than the wave in certain situations, it's worse than the wave in certain situations, as you can't always get out something that's a 6 earlier, but it's better than a wave because of the fact that your opponent doesn't get the situation. On turn 5, if you want to, you can also play 7 drops with this. Don't know why you'd want to play 7 drops with this, but you do get the 7 energy, and sometimes 7 energy on the last turn is interesting enough. Also, if you're playing a high evolutionary Cyclops deck, sometimes just having a floating energy is kind of nice to do. Play her on the 2, activate her on the 3, with playing down the Cyclops, and get the extra energy for later on in the game, and play your 4 correctly, and have the Cyclops go on if you're playing the high evolutionary. Another nice thing about the Jennifer Kale is simply the fact that because it's not an ongoing or an on reveal, it basically means that the only way that you can take it out is with Red Guardian. If your opponent decides to use a Red Guardian on this, I mean, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but you're almost laughing at your opponent because this is not what you want to use a Red Guardian. So there are certain decks where you really want a Psylocke, but you don't want that Psylocke on 2. You want that Psylocke on 3, or you want that Psylocke on 4. Because getting down a 6-drop on 5 and another 6-drop on 6 that your opponent really can't do anything about is kind of very important for some decks. And to have a secondary card that you can throw in where you can have Psylocke and Jennifer Kale in the same deck if you really need that 6-drop to happen. It's kind of nice to have a backup system, and this is the first card that I've really seen that's truly almost a one-to-one backup system. So all in all, I think it's a decently good card, and I think a lot of people are not looking at it as what it could be. Where it's like, yes, if you want the Psylocke and you need to move strictly into 4 for some reason, then the Psylocke's going to be better for you. But if you ever need an extra energy, but you don't need it on the 3 turn per se, then any other turn you're wasting your Psylocke because you have to take a weird turn by playing the Psylocke later down on the road. And Jennifer Kale can just take up that slot. Alright, so before I let you go, one extra thing for all of you who stayed until the end. So, this particular few days ago, Marvel Snap took over the rights and reins and publishing for the web shop. So, after they did so, if you want to go to the new Marvel web shop, and you want to put in the code of web launch, all capitalized, and yes, it is case sensitive, you will get a free gift of 1 premium mystery variant and 1 premium mystery border. That is free for everybody who plays Marvel Snap. It is only free until the next patch comes around with the next cycle of cards, which should be the Fantastic Four season. So please take advantage of this while you still can. Anyways, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, remember, play for fun.